Good afternoon and welcome to Finding the Plot. My name is Sebastian Whittington-Smythe. You have to admire Platinum Games. Few developers are so, how should I put this, stubbornly imaginative. If you count the output of the late Clover Studios, they have created such unique games as God Hand, Beautiful Joe, Wonderful 101, Akami, Bayonetta, Mad World, Shadows of the Damned, each one unique enough to confound player expectations. And today I'm looking at Vanquish in its snazzy lenticular case. Unlike the other games I mentioned, Vanquish stubbornly refuses to adhere to popular conventions, which is why it's a game about American space marines using the art of cover-based shooting to take on evil Russians. Oh. But hey, it's a Platinum game, so you just know it's going to be more than meets the eye. In fact, what if I told you that this suspiciously formulaic premise was actually a way to lull the player into a false sense of security, so that Platinum can then deliver a full frontal assault on America's handling of 9/11 and the War on Terror? You know, such a controversial subject requires a sprightly, unclouded mind. So sit back, relax, and grab a glass of freedom nectar as we find the plot of Vanquish. We begin with the tutorial, which shows our hero Sam Gideon testing his new invention. He was an American football player until he got injured and has since become a researcher at DARPA, building the ARS suit. ARS does not refer to the gluteus maximus in this case, but actually stands for Augmented Reaction Suit. This suit enables him to be like Iron Man, a military-grade, quip-firing alcoholic. It's beautiful. He researches with Elena and Professor Candide, who are important characters in this game, but more on them later. Following the tutorial, we see San Francisco. Somewhere in space, machines whir into action. Rods rise and point towards the Earth. It is an orbital weapon, priming and aiming at the city. It fires, and in a graphic scene we see the people of San Francisco cooked alive by microwaves, as others are boiled in the Golden Gate. In scenes that remind me of 9/11, firemen stand among the wreckage and look up at the damaged, albeit still standing, Transamerica Pyramid. We cut to President Hillary Clinton, going by the name of President Winters for some weird reason, but there's no fooling me. She's been given demands by an evil space Russian named Zaitsev. He's threatening New York with his Death Star laser, and all he wants for its safety is the surrender of the United States. Seems reasonable. Clinton gives a speech to the American people and says that they're going to kick Russian butt, but how will they do that? Simply by sending many troops to the space colony 01, otherwise known as Providence, which has been taken over by the Reds, as this grizzled veteran calls them. Ah, Reds. Yes, the United States is not just at war with space Russians, but space communists. That means that they are at least 32% more evil than regular fictional evil Russians. In fact, their combined evil edges out even journalists, bankers, and British-sounding authority figures from American movies for pure evil. I'm not quite sure if they beat the Nazis yet, but that all comes down to how many puppies they've punched, and I don't think anybody's looked into that in any great detail yet. Which is a shame, because that would be a very interesting study to read. So what is Providence? According to the game, it's the 51st state of America. It's a cylindrical space station that also harvests solar energy, which is then passed to the Earth by the ever-reliable method of vague science. You know vague science, it's like magic in that you don't have to explain it. It just works.
Sebastian, what are you doing?
I'm upgrading my gun.
You're stroking it with a rubber pig.
Yes?
Well, how does that work?
You wouldn't understand, it's really complicated science.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Well, it's not your field.
What field is it?
Science! Now be gone, you harlot, and leave me to my science. So Providence exists to alleviate population density problems and provide a renewable energy source, so it's pretty awesome. But it's been taken over by the baddies, which is another reason to go to war with them actually, although considering how deeply entrenched the enemies already are, it's implied that they've been there for a while. Isn't it a little strange that the United States waited until San Francisco was destroyed and Washington was targeted before they did anything? I'll leave you with that thought for now. On one of the spacecrafts, Commander Burns, or Bionic Commando's dad by the looks of him, introduces Sam to the Marines, and they instantly dislike him. This is explained because, with Sam being DARPA, he only takes orders directly from the President and the Secretary of Defense. He operates outside of Marine authority, and has much better equipment as well, which is sure to make them jealous. We get a quick flashback that shows Candide explaining that the United States has been betrayed by one of its...
The American government has been betrayed by one of its own. Betrayed by one of its own. By one of its own.
Candide says that he's not happy that his super death weapon that he made is being used to kill people. I mean, microwave space cannons aren't meant for that. They're meant for nice things like defrosting dinner, heating mulled wine, and all the other things that people use microwaves for, like making cold things not cold. They should never be used for killing people, and as such he implies that Sam should destroy the weapon. Now, in all seriousness, there is mention in the game that this was actually the solar power harnessing technology, and it's implied that it was adapted or misused to become a weapon. But I have enough scientific knowledge to understand that solar panels and batteries can't just be simply adapted into a death ray. Unless I'm totally wrong. If so, any engineers, physicists or chemists, feel free to chime in the comments. So although Candide is playing innocent, I expect that he knew what it could be used for. I mean, he helped develop the R-suit, which is pretty violent, and he is the only person who knows how the energy science works. It's quite the stretch to believe that he couldn't have at least known that it was a possibility. Incidentally, I really should comment on how much I wish that I could casually end Skype calls by turning my back.
And Grover, don't forget to bring me even more wine than I had previously. I will not be disappointed again.
Are you going to end the call, sir?
Oh, yes. Am I doing it?
No, sir.
Am I still maintaining my dramatic sense of composure?
Yes, sir? Would you like me to end the call for you, sir?
You should have done it when I turned my back. I swear to Dionysus.
As it happens, Candide has been kidnapped for reasons, which are never explained. Seriously, even during the game, Zaitsev says,
There is much I want from Mr. Candide.
perhaps he's being held to develop weapons for the Russians. Either way, Sam says that because of his energy designs, he is too valuable to kill. Back on the ship, Sam gets heckled by Burns and they end up scuffling, but is broken up by their arrival. The scuffle actually makes sense though. I mean, other than Sam being a bit rude to him, Burns is going into a very dangerous situation with highly trained Marines, and he's escorting an unproven guy in a suit of armour. Sam is a liability. If Sam can't handle himself, then he could endanger everybody, and if nothing else, this is a really effective way to test if he's any good. In the scene that shows that the animators earned their money, Sam's Star Wars Rebel blockade runner arrives at the colony. And it is here that we are introduced to our cannon fodder of the piece, who you may recognise from BioWare's Mass Effect. Yes, it is the ever-lovable Geth. So now the gameplay has begun, and I'd like us to take a moment to catch our breath and reflect on what's going on. Zaitsev, our baddie of the day, actually fronts the Order of the Russian Star, a group who performed a coup in Russia to seize control of the country. It is hinted at that he's a communist. What with the fact that the bad guys are referred to as Reds, they're painted red, Zaitsev himself wears red armour, and the logo bears communist imagery. The choice of villain is important. You see, the story is reminiscent to me of the War on Terror. A foreign idealism plants a terrorist attack on American soil, threatening to do more, calling for the surrender of the West. America retaliates with force, sending their military onto disputed land, in this case the Overrun Space Colony. Platinum were careful, however, in going with something that I suppose would be less contentious than implicating then-current threats to world peace. They've not gone for religious terrorists or anybody who America was at war with at the time. Instead, they picked an enemy that Americans can get behind but who aren't really scary anymore. Communists. It evokes the cheese of 80s action films, bad guys you don't mind blowing up because they're just faceless drones, cannon fodder. And indeed, they've not even implicated the current Russian administration, because they're not communists. They were overthrown by communists. It's very safe, yet it's still mirroring the War on Terror in a way that is somewhat gleeful, bombastic, saying here's all your cool weapons and powers, get into a firefight and kill the commie scum. And here's an interesting point. By using robots as enemy infantry, the game is presenting the enemies as faceless cannon fodder, while American forces are people. People with names, people who the game cares about, because if they die you're penalised in terms of your score, while if you save them you're given extra ammo as a reward. The American forces matter, the terrorists are just things to kill. They are literally dehumanised in a situation where at present there is simply black and white morality. America is good, communists are bad. And so the game progresses through exhilarating firefight to awesome boss fight, and as they progress through the colony, we see the distrust or just plain dislike between Sam and Burns continuing. They run into some friendlies who are being tortured and Sam wants to save them, but Burns has other ideas.
sacrifice an entire unit to help 3 men? No, let me do it.
This shows Sam as quite literally a white knight. In his perfect gleaming suit of white armour, he goes in to save the day. He is the game's moral compass, the conscience of the American people, perhaps. And if he had nieces and nephews, he would quite literally be Uncle Sam. He could not be more American if he tried. He saves them and they move on, but not before Burns goes Jesse Ventura on some more robots. There is a perplexing segment where you save a stranded soldier from Michael Bay's Megatron.
Okay.
Only for him to immediately be killed with no fanfare. But of course, this is to highlight the futility of war, that you cannot save everybody. Not that I managed that anyway. Eventually they fight to a lift area where none other than Professor Candide is being escorted somewhere by robots. Sam is told to help, but is busy. Busy getting dumped right into enemy fire in my case.
Busy right now.
They are unable to save Candide, and Zaitsev steps in wearing a much better suit of armour than Sam's. Zaitsev says that he wants Candide, as we know, for many reasons. After a long fight, Zaitsev escapes. There is a bit of a disagreement between Sam and Burns about full disclosure, with Burns questioning Sam about whether this is a rescue mission. And actually, what is Sam's mission? Is it to rescue Candide, or destroy the weapon, or just stop it? We really don't know. Sam's reply is this.
My orders are classified. Elena and I do not fall under military jurisdiction, Lieutenant Colonel.
Now remember this because it's important later. The mission progresses further and Sam gets split up, only to rejoin friendlies while fighting 2 KR-01s at once. But as great as this battle is, there really is no story to it, so moving on. They go in search of possible survivors who might know the enemy positions. But it's just an excuse to blow things up in the Corsum. Now, I'm not rushing through the game, but for the most part there really is very little story beyond incidental dialogue that acts as an excuse to throw you from one amazing set piece and frenetic firefight to another. This isn't a bad thing though, because this game is superb. Though at least the story does show the relationship between Sam and Burns blossoming, so we have that at least.
Getting good at this falling out of transports thing, don't you think?
More like getting good at looking like an asshole.
Eventually, we see the president slumped over a table. She gets a call.
It's me.
Why did you attack? We were supposed to be cooperating.
Do you take me for a fool? Cooperation is mutual exploitation. We have merely exploited you first.
What are you saying?
I am saying that our spirit of cooperation may be a little less spirited.
It is time to move on. We will speak again after your unconditional surrender.
Damn you!
Oh, so they were cooperating. Interesting. But I'll get to this later. Sam then runs into one of these chaps, which is important because it allows us to meet a familiar face. It also allows me to show you how to fail embarrassingly. And also how your knowledge of Transformers could actually save your life. Eventually, we get to a section where, again, Burns wants to let people die, and this time he gets his way. Burns leaves Marines to die because corps and country comes first, which again upsets Sam, but Burns is dedicated to his mission, and if it means that people have to die so others can succeed, then so be it. They battle their way to the industrial complex where they have to fight Dural from Virtua Fighter. When it's defeated, it explodes, causing a plasma containment unit to also blow, and puts a hole in the side of the colony, which would probably doom anybody still living there. Actually, you may be wondering, where is everybody? The 51st state, created so that it can alleviate population density issues, is seemingly deserted. And based on how entrenched the robots are, it leads to 3 possible options. Option 1, The communists took over a while ago and have killed and removed everybody. Option 2. Everybody escaped, though that would have surely necessitated military action sooner because it's not like America could hide millions of people fleeing back to Earth. Or option 3. Nobody has moved in yet. The official site, which is no longer up, does mention that Candide was at the space station in order to oversee completion. Of what, it doesn't say, but the safe money is on the energy converter. The space station itself looks completely finished, the transportation network is working, and there's a garrison of troops living there. As somebody who has lived in unfinished residential areas, I know that in reality people move into places in trickles. As segments get finished, people move in to bankroll the rest of the development. It is unfeasible that troops would live there, and that well-maintained plants and functioning services and parks and whatnot would be present if there was nobody to use them. Which leads me to believe that the enemy had taken over quite a while before, and that they'd just not been called out on it by the President. Again, more on that later, but seeing as how we know that they've been cooperating, I think you can probably see a link. Our heroes get to a shelter below the surface, and then arrive at a control room that enables them to shut off the decompressed section to save the rest of the station. Stragglers are still trying to get to the shelters, but pressure is dropping fast. Burns wants to shut the doors. Sam doesn't.
Can't do that! You've still got men out there!
Men who were ready to die when they signed up for this mission. You know that!
Let's not give up on them just yet. There's still time.
I don't take orders from DARPA!
So this is how you do things?
Don't you get sentimental with me. How many people you think have already died for this? Failure is not an option now. It never was.
So you fail those men out there instead?
What part of Marines complete the mission did you not understand? We do what has to be done. I don't pick and choose how.
Burns says that he'll bring up the rear, while the others go on ahead. However, all is not as it seems.
You really think this is gonna be the lifeline that drags the U.S. out of recession?
History should lend credence to that theory.
Even with the sacrifice of San Francisco?
I never planned for that to happen. But sacrifice of some sort is unavoidable.
This is not the time or the place for regrets.
The ends come before the means now.
Then I will let you handle the means.
And I will bring about the ends.
So, the President wanted this war to bring the US out of recession, and Burns knows all about it. But she hadn't banked on the Russians destroying San Francisco. Sam gets to a control room and hears that Burns is in trouble, so he sends the Marines to help him. He goes in and meets Candide.
Sam, where are the Marines?
I'm alone, Frank.
Stay back! I've told you we can't trust the Commander-in-Chief. Why are you working with the military?
Frank!
Thank God. I stopped it in time.
Burns! Why?
Sorry, Sam. This fight is for the men going home and buying boxes now. I'm changing the microwave's target to Moscow.
Why would the President order this?
This betrayal leads to a lengthy boss fight with Burns, which ends in another control room. More reinforcements run in, but Burns opens the emergency escape and orders Sam to get out.
That's an order! My men are dead. I belong with them.
Sam runs into Zaitsev, who he has a nice little scuffle with, and then we find out that there's actually two Zaitsevs. Oh bother. Zaitsev reveals that Winters backs the order of the Russian Tsar's coup to take over Russia, to make them a more suitable target for war, so the US could invade, bolster the economy and reassert its place as the world leader. But Russia decided instead to preemptively retaliate, if you will. So they took the solar power generator and turned it into a weapon. Sam then has to fight both the suits. He wins, but his suit gives out. Luckily, he is able to get it back online to deliver the victory blow. It is in this moment of victory that he finds out that both suits were slave units controlled by remote. Zaitsev isn't there, but tactical nukes are. What a scamp. As the colony is destroyed, Sam escapes. Back on his ship, Sam is upset that he sacrificed people to uphold his ideals, but Elena points out that he saved many more than he sacrificed by stopping the laser. Which is true, and is one of the only times that the game tries to justify war. Elsewhere we see Zaitsev, who tells somebody that his mission is accomplished. Burns is dead, and the colony has been destroyed. And then we get this. And that's it. So, what was that all about? Well, it's a criticism, I think, of America's handling of the war on terror. Think about it. In Vanquish, the United States funded and supported a terrorist organisation's ascent to power, as some people say the US did with the Taliban, by training them and providing them with weapons. Also in the game, there's a pivotal terrorist strike, which the United States uses as justification for what they are speculating to be a lucrative war. Without getting too caught up in the rights and wrongs of how the war has been handled, to be truthful, I'm far too drunk to have a valid opinion. I'm sure you've all heard the conspiracy theories. That the US entered into Iraq for oil, that 9/11 was an inside job to provide plausible reasons for the war. If you look at Vanquish as a game that's created by people who support these theories, then I'm sure you can see the parallels. And while Winters says that the San Francisco incident wasn't intended, how can we really trust her? I mean, let's just think of the logic here. Winters wants a war with Russia, and the Order of the Russian Star agreed to allow Russia to be invaded. What on earth would they have to gain? Well, the game does mention that Russia itself is in a bit of a mess. It has been stricken with famine and economic issues. So what if Winters gave them the colony as a trade? It has an unlimited power supply in the sun. It's probably quite fertile, and you could move a lot of people from the poverty-stricken Russia to the space colony and have a brand new, thriving country. A fresh start. She knew that the solar energy harvester could be used as a weapon, and she allowed the attack on San Francisco to happen, but she didn't think that they would then attack Washington as well. I mean, they had a deal. The attack on San Francisco would perhaps have stimulated her to attack the country of Russia, not the space station. That is the war that she wanted. And that's a good reason for it, but instead, her hand was forced and she had to send troops to the fallen space station to save her own life. She told Burns that she didn't know about it for one simple reason: his loyalty to his men and country, not to the president. He follows orders up to a point. We saw his question about San Francisco. Questioning her shows that his loyalty and obedience is not absolute. He was hurt to see his country and people attacked. His motivation for attacking Moscow was revenge for the attack. If Winters had said that she knew and she helped Russia kill San Francisco, he would not have tried to re-aim the laser. He may not have killed Candide. As for his distrust of Sam, you may remember earlier that Sam said that he only answers to the president and SecDef, and gets cagey when he's asked if his mission is a rescue mission. Well, at first that seems reasonable, and that Burns is just being paranoid. But Burns actually answers directly to the president as well, and his mission, it seems, includes the assassination of Candide, presumably to stop his knowledge getting into enemy hands. If Sam, a super-powerful soldier, is entrusted with a mission that runs counter to his own, then Burns knew that he was going to have to fight him at some point. But what if that wasn't Sam's mission? Nowhere in the game is it mentioned what Sam's mission actually is. He's there to assist, maybe to stop Zaitsev, maybe as a scientific advisor, as somebody to complement Burns' mission. It can't have been to rescue Candide, because why would Winters send somebody with Sam's firepower to do the exact opposite of what the rest of the team are meant to do? If his betrayal was pre-planned, then they would have had Elena supervised and killed, and would have deactivated Sam's systems by remote. Rescuing Candide is his own choice, and Burns knows this because he has a direct line to the president, the one person that Sam answers to. But Sam doesn't know that he knows. It suddenly throws up mistrust, because Burns has somebody who may well go rogue on his hands, and for now he doesn't have the official authority to do anything about it, until the president gives him permission at the end. However, throughout the game, Burns saw that Sam was a man of integrity, who cared for his allies and who fought with everything that he had for the sake of his countrymen. And then, during his fight with Burns, he saw that Sam had his own beliefs above his orders, and how passionately and skillfully he fought for his own ideals, his own justice. And it was then that Burns realised that Sam was not the enemy. The president, the regime was the problem, and perhaps only Sam could change that. As I said earlier, the game shows Sam as this gleaming white knight figure, this non-military avatar of the people. He is the one who asks the questions and sits sort of outside the politics of the game. The developers placed you in that position so that initially you play it as a standard shooter, a game of heroes versus villains, but little by little it changes. Every one of our allies has a name. None of them are anonymous NPCs. Like the Iraq War portrayed in Western media, our side are the people. When they fall in battle, it's not just 10 soldiers were killed. We are shown their faces, told their names, their age, told about their family and their character and hopes and dreams. But the enemies are just communists, Reds, Taliban, ISIS insurgents. We never know their names, because to the media they don't matter. They are evil. The only one with a name is Zaitsev, the terrorist leader, the ultimate target. And we know him because we knew Bin Laden. We knew Saddam. And then the game questions the morality of the war by revealing the truth. Suddenly, you're not on the same side as everyone else. Sure, Zaitsev is bad, but so is your government. So is the use of a weapon of mass destruction for any reason. Your moral compass is confused. But actually, is Zaitsev bad? I mean, any worse than anyone else? He knew that America would betray him, and considering Winters' actions thus far, who can blame him? He took over the colony and never sacrificed his own people for a needless war. He used robots and in one instance put himself in harm's way. That's more than Winters ever did. And then, when you've finally beaten Zaitsev, you find out that you never beat him at all. He's somewhere else. It's like a hydra. Chop off one head and more appear. But isn't that always the case? You can defeat the Nazis, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, the IRA, take out Hitler, Bin Laden, Saddam. But it doesn't matter because another threat will always appear. This week it's ISIS. Tomorrow, who knows? In the game, the president kills herself because although the terrorists were slowed for now, they're not defeated, and the US has lost many, many people, and an entire state. A state designed to solve the energy crisis, to solve overpopulation, and that must have cost insane sums of money that the US no longer has. The Russians lost nobody, and it's all because of a war that she started for money. Even if she survived, her life as she knows it is over. It's a bleak message to be sure, but one that Platinum tried to package up in a game that would appeal to the West to make us all think. It didn't work. Nobody seems to have heard of the game, and it's a shame. The few people who did litter forums with questions and complaints about the ending. But there it is, clear as day. And even if you don't agree with the moral message of the game, I'd still recommend playing it because it is absolutely brilliant. Short, but brilliant. But hey, maybe you should just disregard everything I've been saying anyway, because perhaps I've been talking bollocks this whole time.